Welcome to the Detroit Lions News Show. And today's segment is The Insiders. Now, I'm very humbled. I'm very honored to have John McCarron. Is that how you say it? John McCarron?
John McCarron. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Yes, with Sports Illustrated and also Detroit Lions Lowdown. Great page. Make sure you subscribe. And we have Scott. Introduce yourself real quick before we go to the intro video.
Thank you, Darcy. Appreciate it. Scott Morganroth. I've actually covered the Lions for over 30 years. I relocated to South Florida and had my own publication, the South Florida Tribune. All of our content can be found on the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel, so feel free to check us out. Or also my Twitter information is on the screen. So I've been covering the NFL since the late 80s, and I actually worked with Don Shula back in the early 80s when I was with Hallandale Digest. So I've been around the NFL for a while, and I'm glad to be on tonight. Thank you.
Mark Schmidt, the man of the hour. Man, you got lots of things going on. Talk about it real quick before introduce yourself, and then we're going to go to the promo video.
Yeah, Mark Schmidt, former player, Detroit Lions, and worked at Madison Square Garden Sports for 8 years, Empire Sports Network. Buffalo Bills Report, was a writer for them. WHTT Radio in Buffalo, New York, did a sports talk show for them, and heavily involved now with the NFL Players Association, not so much the NFL alumni. The Players Association is what's actually doing something for us. I'm involved with the Buffalo chapter as of about 2 weeks ago. They came out to me and they asked me to be part of it. I was always part of the Detroit Lions chapter, but now heavily involved with the NFLPA here in Buffalo.
Okay, well, I'm going to get this jet plane taken off. Enjoy the show. Please subscribe to all our podcasters.
Do your best. Let's go. Lions on 3. 1, 2, 3. Lions.
Oh my God! Victory Sunday.
The Giants look at their schedule and they go, "Oh, the Detroit Lions," and they put the big W, right?
Correct. It's folks. It's everybody that is on the screen right now that is what makes this special, because this organization has been so bad for so long. Yet here we all are on a Sunday night at 7:00, chopping it up about this football team, because winning 3 in a row and getting this done for the first time since 2017, and like Mark said, having some momentum for this fan base.
When we played against the Patriots one game on Thanksgiving, I had a pretty good game too, and it was just the atmosphere is just different. It's just there is just everybody's ready. You get a chance to wear the throwback uniforms. It was just.
I think it's a mixture of both. I think you got to have a good program, but I think the city, the way it's viewed nationally, like the people in Detroit, the business people, the money makers, the marketers, they got to market Detroit different nationally.
And welcome to the Insiders Show, the Detroit Lions News. We are going live to the Detroit Lions group. We're going live to the Detroit Lions like page. Thank you, Joseph Pcap. And we are also live on YouTube. We're going to start off this. I'm going to give you a little teaser here. We're going to talk to an insider for the NFLPA, the Buffalo chapter, and then we're going to go into free agency. And we have John, who's the expert on that, so we'll talk about that. And then now Jeff's going to jump on, Jeff Risden, and he's going to talk about the Senior Bowl, and then we're going to talk about the Super Bowl. Let's take it away here. Talk about it, buddy.
We're looking at right now with as far you're talking about with I'm having a hard time hearing you, Darce. We're starting off with free agency, or we're starting off with the NFLPA?
We're starting off with you with the NFLPA. What did you said you talked to the owner, Mr. Pegula?
Yeah, well, what I talked to, I actually sent Terry Pegula, the owner of the Buffalo Bills, of course, mentioning that I'm a former NFL player, so it helps to get through. And he actually got back to me talking about natural grass going into the new stadium out in Orchard Park, and the stadium that's going to be done in 25 or 26, I think 26 now. And we're all pushing for natural grass to get back into these stadiums, especially the outdoor stadiums. The Arizona Cardinals are able to do it it was an indoor stadium and
you're
have
breaking
natural
up there, buddy.
grass.
Right.
So are the Raiders doing it out in Las Vegas. This is something that has to be done. This has got to be changed. You cannot play on an artificial surface anymore. We've done so much in this game now to make it safer as far as a lot of the things that are going on with the equipment and things like that. And of course the rules changes that have made it a lot safer, but out of the game. They need some vocal people in this thing, and I'm the perfect guy for it. So that's what I'm looking forward to there, and trying to help out make this game a little bit safer, because on the other end of things, what came out on Monday, if you guys saw it, was the latest CTE studies from Boston University. You guys should have seen that. It's worse now than they've ever determined. Boston U has been doing these studies since 2014. You guys know all about it. Follow the studies, follow what's coming out. This free agency is important. Yeah, it is, but I'm a former player, and I'm telling you right now, this is important shit. This is stuff that you need to pay attention to, because CTE is now being found to be in 2% former players, 92%. And the control study determined that the other 156 people who were also studied in this, who never played a down of football, none of them had CTE, giving indication that people who play football at a professional level have CTE over 90% of the time, and those versus those who do not play football having any CTE. So those are the things that have came up in the last couple of days that we're working on. We're working on a number of different things as far as some of the benefits to the players that they can get for cognitive deficiency. That is something that is new come up. I have some personal cognitive deficiency myself, but these are all really important issues. I know you guys want to get to free agency. I know you want to get to the Senior Bowl and all that stuff, but this is stuff that just came out in the last 48 hours that is real important if you guys love the game and feel that the game needs to be safer, and about what's gone on in the past that wasn't smart. And I'm glad we have a platform to do this on, because it really is that important.
But back in the old day, you guys used to just kill each other. You played in the late 80s with Barry Sanders and Wayne Fonts, and
Right.
Our coaching techniques that we are taught, it's more like a rugby style, right? So, back in the old days, you aimed right between the numbers. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, no, it was. We had a lot of good tackling technique. Of course, Fonts was into that and had us doing a lot of it. But we would do, during training camp, you're doing tackling drills at 8 a.m. and during doubles, which with Coach Fonts was actually triples. So with special teams meetings in the evenings and practice, for holders and kickers and punters and long snappers. So it's the game has changed a lot in those respects as far as the training is concerned, but man, the hitting drills and a lot of CTE guys, you got to know this. If you study the game and really understand it, it's not about the number of concussions that you've had. It is about the over and over and over and over and over again, the repetitive. People will say, "Oh, geez, you have CTE. How many concussions do you have?" Listen, man, that's you don't know your shit. You don't know what you're talking about. Okay.
All
yeah.
right.
Well, I had
Easy.
4. Okay. But know what you're talking about when you start talking to these people about CT. You're going on the air about it. I took the 2-week course from the NFL offers, and can talk on it, and that's I'm not a doctor and I don't profess to be one, but you got to start to understand some of this shit if you're going to talk intelligently about it, and if you're a true lover of the game.
Yeah, I know we have to take a course. It's a pretty repetitive course, but it's great.
It is pretty repetitive. You're right. It is.
Because I coach senior varsity here in travel in Ontario, Southwest Ontario. But let's get on to free agency, and I am honored, and I can't wait for John's insight here. This guy works so hard. He's a professional. This is his job. He works for Sports Illustrated, and he runs the Detroit Lions Lowdown. Talk about it there, John.
Yeah, started a podcast 10 years ago, huge Lions supporter, grew up watching during the Fonts era, and obviously the successful season in 1991. So I've been a fan of the Detroit Lions my whole life, my whole adult life as well. And then started a podcast, and then through the just luck and hard work, the podcast grew, and Sports Illustrated had started to expand their coverages to more local teams. And the group that runs Sports Illustrated, the Arena Group, tabbed me to cover the Lions daily. So for the last 4 years, I've been out there at Allen Park covering the team, being out there. For me, I liked it in that I got to go out there during the Patricia era, where it was a lot more challenging and the players were a little bit more guarded. So it made it taught you to hone your skills a little bit in terms of what you wanted to ask and present and things like that. Now this year, with a new culture change and in the last couple of years with Dan Campbell, it's been completely different. And the Lions, supporters are so rabid, they soak up all information. And so to have a local guy who's been a supporter of the team for a long time, podcasting and covering the team locally for a national site, it lent itself for a lot of support. And we cover it daily, 365 days a year, doing videos, podcasts in the new digital era. So to hear from the likes of Mark regarding all these issues is very impactful. And through the podcast platform, had an opportunity, Mark spoke to the owner. I spoke to, on the other side of it, one of the marketers for the new turf that's being installed at Ford Field. So I get to hear the other side of the coin when we have the debate between grass and artificial surfaces. So the podcast platform allows you to do a lot of different things to gain information. And so I love the space, and to be embraced by the Lions supporters is great. So, and I'm very happy to be on the show and talking about the Lions and how they can get from where they were at 9-8 to taking the next step.
Awesome. Awesome. What a great insight, man. You're a true professional, John. I'm honored to meet you again. Now, Scott, you've been doing this. I met you. We talked last night, and man, you've been doing this a long time, haven't you, bro? Talk about it.
I have. I go back to the Fonts era too, Mark, so I could appreciate you. I know, Mark, you and I have been in contact, just been playing phone tag a little. But, man, you talk about an incredible time covering the Lions when Barry Sanders was there. And to this day, I always felt that Eric Kramer should have been the starter, not Rodney Peete.
Yeah, you think? Oh, you think? Yeah, I would say so, Scott. That's
know,
just
maybe
my
I took
opinion.
a dumb pill overnight after all these years, but
All right, can I just interject something real quick, and then I'll shut up for a second. When I came in, Eric Hipple was my roommate. Okay, this is a great story. People love this, and I'm going to be real quickly because it's your turn, Scott, and then and it's nice having John here and so forth. But I was in my rookie year in '88, and I'm a wide receiver. We have a fellow by the name of Eric Hipple, who's a 7-year veteran at the time. We draft Chuck Long as number 2 or 3 or whatever for 4 overall.
Right.
And Chuck comes in, and nice guy and everything else. And we're going through OTAs during right after during minicamp, and it's apparent to everybody that the guy that's been there for 7 years is a whole lot better than the guy they just brought in who's going to start. And it was like apparent to everybody, so it was like something that was, you don't expect, but it's like, holy smokes, money talks. And of course, Chuck got the start, but 4 games into the, 88 season, Hipple was in there. So I know what you mean when you say about Pete and Eric Kramer, and it makes sense. Eric, we got a lot pretty easily, and then Rodney Peete we drafted real highly. So I had to just interject there real quick, Scott. I'm going to shut up now.
Oh, Mark, I don't care what you're talking about, man. You're preaching the gospel, for crying out loud.
Oh, I'm going to beat him. He's supposed to come down here this summer, and I've already been doing 2-a-days. I'm ready for him. I could push up him. I'm going to throw him off the I got a brand new boat and a tube.
Great.
I'm going to throw him off the tube. I'm going to go in circles, and you're going to see it. It's going to be live on Facebook.
He's gonna record all this shit. It's hilarious.
I'm going to beat you in the 42.
Well,
He's gonna race me in the 40.
let me give you a little bit of history with Wayne.
Go ahead,
Fonts.
Scott.
I actually went to school with his son, Mike Fonts, and at the University of South Florida. It was pretty cool hanging out with Mike.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I remember when the Lions lost, this may seem crazy for this show, but who cares? And again, it's one of those freelance deals anyways, where when the Lions lost, a bunch of us went over to Hooters and had a bunch of beers.
Oh,
And down in Florida, they're pretty popular. So I'll never forget the time I'm working over at the Tampa Tribune, all right? And I wrote one of my best stories ever because I was on a 6, 7 o'clock Sunday deadline. And my editor says to me, Moy, that's one of the best stories you've ever had. Well, don't tell the bosses that I had a few extra beers. I don't care. You can drink all the beers you want. I have a little editing to do. But that was back in the day before I started covering the team. And I've had a great ride working with the likes of Bill Keenis, Mike Murray, James
Right.
Petrowska. They were just dream people to work with. They really were. And, I know that the Lions have been on lean times now, but let me tell you, you want to talk about the dream team of PR guys, James, Mike, and Bill, to me, are three of the best that I've ever worked with. And I've been around a lot of them. So, but,
Right.
hopefully the Lions under Dan Campbell will be able to restore a little bit of credibility. And, why do you think they gave him a 6-year contract with the intent to get rid of him after 2 or 3 years? Really?
No.
I mean, hello.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, now
what I should always say is hopefully one of these days, one of these coaches that gets let go will get another job instead of, the Lions being the doomsday of jobs where you'll turn it down because you never get rehired again. Although I think the closest one to it was Dick Duran, I believe, when he actually was an interim guy that got hired by the Buffalo Bills, which you ought to know, right, Mark, since you're kind of like in UFFALO, BILL.
Yeah, just kind of shuffle them off to Buffalo when you're done with them.
Yeah, right. I hear you. I mean, it's just cool being on here, just reminiscing a little bit. And I keep tabs on the Lions quite a bit. I do, even though I'm in Southern Florida. How do you not? I mean, I have a show called Fire Up Michigan that's really designated, for Detroit sports people is what we do. And, what we try to do, and hopefully everybody will get wind of it all with my YouTube channel, South Florida Tribune. But the whole idea is I don't ever go out there myself and not try to be loyal to my hometown, because I'll tell you, my first job was at WXYZ Radio. And let me tell you, as a producer, and you never lose sight of where you came from. And that's why I'm Metro Detroit inside and out, even though I'm wearing a Miami Hurricane shirt. Don't worry about it. Hopefully,
I noticed that. Okay, now let's talk about free agency. And we have John. He's an insider. I have total respect for him. Please subscribe to his channel, Detroit Lions Lowdown. We got 21 free agents. That is a heck of a lot of free agents. This segment's sign them or say goodbye to them. Let's go around the table. I'm going to bring it up real quick, and let's go for it. Oh, first of all, DJ Chark. We'll start with you, and we'll go around. Let's start with Scott. We'll go right around. Sign him or say goodbye to him.
No, you sign him, and I'll tell you why I'm a little biased toward the guy, because I saw him play with the Jacksonville Jaguars and I do cover the Jaguars a lot. And in my opinion, this guy, when he stays on the field, he's definitely a good threat. I really do. So by all means, you got to keep him.
Okay, we got 21 to go, so let's do it quick. John, sign him or say goodbye to him.
Yeah, sign him. The offense performed at a better level with him out there, so you definitely want to sign him.
Mark? DJ Chark?
I think that the team that's after him are the Atlanta Falcons, from what I've heard from the inside. They have a lot of money. Obviously, the Chicago Bears do as well. Division opponent. I think that they're going to try to sign him. I think that this is one of the only players that's a real 50-50, and I think John may agree with me on it. It's a literal flip of a coin with Chark. That's my opinion.
Myself, he wants $10 million. That's market value. We drafted Jameson Williams for basically, a bag of balls or whatever he probably is. He's a first rounder, so he's probably getting $3 or $4 million. I haven't checked that out, but I say we let him go, and then we spend more money on defense. Jamal Williams, talk about it, Scott. Sign him or say goodbye to him. Market value's $3 million.
Keep him. Period.
John?
Absolutely. He's one of the free agents you want to bring back, but he could get attention when you score 17 touchdowns in a season and you have that viral moment on Sunday Night Football. People are going to catch on, but I do think that he wants to be in Detroit. Has said many times he doesn't like change. I think he wants to rebuild with the Lions here and wants to stay.
Marco?
I say you got to sign him. You can't lose Jamal Williams. And he wants to be here. So I think that that's a definite sign. I of all the people, I would say that we're talking about here, I'd say that that's the one guy. Well, there's two other ones that I want to say too but Jamal Williams is staying. So sign him. Yes.
And I agree with I agree with all of you guys. Leadership is huge for a football team. I love kids that stand up and takes leadership, take the kids under. He's a team captain. He is. He's just like a Taylor Decker, but he is the leader in the running back room. So Mike Hughes, we could go quick, sign him or say goodbye to him real quick. We got 18 more to go. Mike Hughes, Scott.
Oh, you know what? I say keep him.
2.5, 2.2. John?
Yeah, keep him. I think that you need as much depth as you can in that secondary. Keep him.
Oh, I would say, yeah, I say keep him. If you possibly can, I would say keep him.
We'll keep him for depth. Alex Anzalone, Thor, a.k.a. Thor, 2.2 million. Keep him, sign him, or say goodbye to him?
Who's going first?
It's always Scott, John,
okay.
and then Mark.
You know
Sorry.
what? For depth purposes, I say hold on to him too.
Yeah, I'm conflicted about Alex. I think that he's great for the room. Obviously, a Dan Campbell guy coming from New Orleans. But I just think that at the linebacker spot, it entails so much. I understand his leadership role with the young linebackers. But if you can find somebody better, I say cut him.
Alex Anzalone, again, it kind of with Sharkey. He's a 50-50, but I would give it to 60-40 because he's a crowd favorite a lot of times. Also, he's he calls a lot of signals on defense, which you can stick around in the league a year or two longer than you may belong there based upon calling some signals on defense. And he does that pretty well. He makes big plays, then he kind of disappears. But I would say 60-40 to sign him, and I think I'm pretty right on that.
Well, yeah. My response is he has the green dot. He knows the system. He knows Aaron Glenn's system. I say sign him for 2.2 or whatever it is. Evan Brown. Now he got concussed. I think he was concussed for 3 games. But when he came back in, filling in for Vaitai, he wants $2 million. So sign him or say goodbye to him.
You know, I would say goodbye. Anytime you're concerned about concussion issues like that, there's always that unknown variable. I hate to say this. I've already had a couple concussions and I'm still working through it, and I don't even play the game. So go figure. But no, to me, I'm kind of bordering around letting them go.
John?
Yeah, I think when you have depth on the offensive line, you saw the injuries, you saw him be plugged in certain spots and performed well. I think that, yes, I understand you guys' concern, but I think that another team probably is going to make him a nice offer because how long can a player of his caliber be a depth player? I think he's on the verge of potentially being a player that could start in the league. So I think another team will come, but I would sign him.
Mark Schmidt. Can you hear us?
I think he's had some injuries, but I think he's had some injuries, but I think he's getting ready to make some moves. I kind of agree with John there. He's kind of in a reserve role, but I think that he's at the point now where he could become something, special as far as a starter is concerned.
Now we have 2, myself, he was drafted. This is his 3rd team. He wants a lot of money, guys. I have the paperwork. I did my research over there. I don't have it in front of me, but you know what? He could play backup center, and if he wants a lot of money. I think we could draft a couple of. I think. Okay, now we got a couple of linebackers. We'll do them both. Chris Board and Josh Woods. They're basically special teamers. Sign them or say goodbye to them, or practice squad guys. They want Board wants $2 million and Josh Woods wants 1.5. Talk about it, Scott.
Well, when you're on the verge of $1.5 to $2 million in today's salary age, to me, it's like a coin toss. It really is that you can go either way, knowing that you're still out. You have the draft coming up. So to me, I guess I would say more of a practice squad situation when you're in that rent district. I really do.
Josh Woods came on, I thought, last year, performed well on special teams. Dave Phipp, the special teams coach, really established himself. Chris Board, veteran, playing with Baltimore, came in, got some reps at linebacker, obviously more of a special teamer. I'd say keep them both, but I think if you're looking at one that potentially will stay or go, I think Chris Board might get offers elsewhere. Josh Woods, I think, will be a priority.
I agree 100%. I think Woods is going to be here. He showed some good things, especially toward the end of the season. Special teams coach likes him. I think Moore will be somewhere else. I don't think Woods is going anywhere. For that $1.5 million, I think that's the guy they're going to sign. I think he's going to be here. So I think that's a 50-50. One's going to be here, Woods Moore will not. That's my opinion. Chris Moore, I'm sorry, will not. That's my opinion.
Yeah, Chris Board never got the chance for the Ravens, so I think he has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. And when he did get in there, he played way better than Gerard Davis. That's for sure.
I agree with that. Yeah, no, he did play better than Davis. Yes.
Yeah, so, and that's why, Davis is playing on the Giants, which he sucked and lost that game for him. But that's another story, another show. DeShon Elliott, talk about it, Scott. Sign him or say goodbye to him.
I'd keep him.
Yeah, he only wants 1.1.
Yeah,
that's his market value.
Keep him.
Yeah, I like his swagger. I like his personality. Going into that Packers game, talked about the disrespect of the Packers. I think that obviously you're going to go into the season with Joseph and returning Tracy Walker if he can make his way back. But you want some veteran presence. I do think that the safety position, obviously in Aaron Glenn's defense, is the kind of quarterback of the defense a little bit at the back end. So I think DeShon Elliott has a role, and I think he has a swagger that Dan Campbell will like in Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, I think Elliott's going to be here no matter what. That's just right off the top of my head. Haven't really seen a ton of them, but I think he's a potential guy. And again, I think what we need to look at here, guys, is, and we're talking about each individual player, and that's important. I think the nucleus is all here, okay? And you don't want to mess with that nucleus. And I'm looking at John, and he's shaking his head yes up and down because he knows what I'm talking about. There's certain players that you're just going to have to say goodbye to, and that's going to happen. But this nucleus is here on this team, and some of these role players are going to be real important, down the road here, especially with a guy like Woods. I mean, you need your middle of the road, just like in the NHL. You need your third and fourth line players to play well to win a championship or to go far in the playoffs. Same thing here. You need your special teamers to play really well, and that makes all the difference in the world. And your role players and your second team guys, to get in there, especially on in important situations when they're called upon. So that's a big part of it. And the nucleus is here. I know we're going to get to Kaminsky real soon.
Yeah, we're coming up. DeShon Elliott, we could have used him against the Panthers. He suffered that shoulder injury, and which oh my God, because he was one of our best or top two tacklers on the team. We could have been in the playoffs if Mr. Elliott didn't get hurt. Nate Sudfeld, now this is a different one. He's our backup quarterback. Man, this could go into, John could talk about this, and Mark and Scott, we could go on. This could be a show topic. Do you re-sign Nate Sudfeld, or where do you draft one? Sign him, or let's leave that for another day. Are we re-signing Nate Sudfeld, Scott?
I say no. I do. I mean, I've seen a lot of hidden gems in the second, third, or fourth round or longer. So, I kind of pass on Nate. I really would. I'm sure that you'll find out what other veterans may be available down the road. But you have to see where the quarterback position plays out. But you definitely have to draft. I think Hendon Hooker, wasn't he a guy that they were looking at the Senior Bowl, if I remember right? He's one of those types of kids where, you can bring him in, let him heal. You did it with Jamal Williams, right? The wide receiver, right? So I don't know. I have a gut feeling that you could find another backup quarterback. I really do, and draft one. But in the third or fourth round, not too high.
I agree with you. Obviously, he has a relationship with Jared Goff. Brad Holmes did come out and say that they're going to make the backup position an offseason priority. So I do think his days are numbered, Sudfeld. I do think you need two new backups, a little bit of competition. And when you have this Lions team that's poised now to potentially make the postseason, win the division, if something happens, and look, we all know football is a violent game, one snap away, you need somebody that can lead the team on a drive if Jared Goff has to leave the game for a series or two. You saw what happened with San Francisco, and you realize, wow, if you have a Purdy in the background there, a young developmental talent that's been in the system that understands what's going on, you could have potentially, a situation where Goff gets hurt and he's no longer there. You need 2 new backups. You need some competition, and hopefully the league makes the rule where they bring back the 3rd emergency quarterback. With these talented defenders going after the quarterback, you need somebody behind Jared Goff just in case something happens. I do think you'll draft one and maybe even look at one of the veterans out there in free agency.
Yeah, let me
Good
interject.
take. Great take. Great
I'm
take.
sorry. Where's Drew Stanton when you need him? Okay.
Mark, real quick. Real quick.
Yeah, I think
We're only halfway through.
Nate Suffield's gone. I think he's gone. I think the only reason that he could be here, he has a nice relationship with Jared Goff. That's been well documented, and sometimes that can keep you around. If Goff goes and vouches for him, I've seen this done personally, where a quarterback will vouch. Of course, he doesn't have the final say, but will vouch for a backup, and I think Goff would probably do that. That's probably Nate's only chance of being here in my mind, and that could happen. What are the chances of that? Probably less than 50%. So I kind of agree with Scott there.
Bye, Nate Sudfeld. Justin
Well, we
Jackson,
can't be mean about it.
I said bye. I didn't say SU. Justin Jackson. Come on now. Let's talk about Justin Jackson. He only wants $1 million. Only. That's not very much. I'll take $1 million. Talk about it, Scott.
You put me on the spot with these guys making $1 million, and once upon a time, $1 million was more value than it is now. So, if you're going to value him at $1 million, it's almost like a coin flip, isn't it? Because of what's out there with all the competition and all the new people coming out. So I don't know. I know I'm waffling a little bit. Then again, I'm taking a page out of Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre's book, No Packer Talk. I understand we're on a Lions show. But I don't know. I could go up and down with it. I really can. I would say a TBD. Is that fair enough?
Okay.
Yeah.
I love his fit in this offense. Sign him.
No. Mark?
Yeah, I think he plays hard. I think he had a great preseason. I know that doesn't translate to good regular seasons, but I don't want to let him go. I do not want to let Jackson go. I want him here for sure.
I'm a firm believer in drafting a running back every 3 years in the second round. I don't think we should draft one this year, but next year, if we could put him on the practice squad just for depth, I would do that. And that's $1 million. That's a lot of money. He's not even at the 600,000, the minimum. So we'll say we'll keep him for depth. Isaiah Buggs, talk about it, Scott.
Well, give me the money, and I'll tell you where we're going with him.
He's at $1 million.
Again, a low risk keep.
Absolutely. You want him. You want to shore up the interior of the defensive line. You're going to look there in the draft as well. But this is a guy that emerged and liked being here. He's one of the ones that says is outspoken publicly. He wants to be here. Sign him.
Yeah, Buggs. That's the first thing as soon as his name came up, I'm like, yeah, just how much he likes being a Lion, how he doesn't want to leave here. And again, he's not dictating that. We know that it has to come down to your play and so forth. But he loves this team, and you got to love that. I mean, he loves this team just like Anzalone does. So you got to value that, and I think he's going to be here.
He's a Dan Campbell guy, and he played good when big-time players make big-time plays on big-time days, and he did that. Will Harris, there's a good one there for you. He is scheduled to make $930,000, just a little pocket change for Scott. He's rich.
Yeah, right. Well, I wish we were. Otherwise, I'd be living in Hawaii thinking about Honolulu.
You're living in Florida.
How do you like that analogy, guys? I had to
that was good.
Come on, I had a lot of them, but I'm glad I was able to pull this one on my pocket. Keep the guy.
Will Harris?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, today we actually have the story up at alllionssi.com/NFL/Lions. It's leaning more toward don't sign him. I think that opposing quarterbacks that understand have found ways to exploit some of his weaknesses. A guy that's been kind of moved around in this defense. He makes plays, but not at the clip where if you lost him, you would be really, truly devastated. I think you can upgrade, but I think it's a move on situation.
All right. Well, let me just add this, and I know Mark's up next. I've always been a firm believer. If you have somebody that you feel good about, you still coach them up. You never know what happens later too. So I'll just defend my argument by coaching them up, and whatever happens, well, so be it.
Well, I saw
around.
one of the other podcasts about Will Harris, and they said it's a 60-40 that he won't be here, and I kind of agree with that. Yeah, I mean that's just the way I feel.
Okay.
Oh, Will Harris, he cost us a couple games. I say we let him go, but Dan Skipper, let's go talk about it quickly. Do you want him? Dan Skipper, the big 6'8", backup tackle that floated around from team to team to team. Should we sign him for? Hang on, I'll move this over so I can see you guys. 780,000.
I'm always a big keep it when you have somebody that big and wide, and you know he's like Canada. He goes far and wide, right? Just had to throw that at you, but no, just but no. Anytime you got a big body like that that can potentially protect it, I have no problem.
You don't think we can pick one up?
Well, who's to say you can't? But you're asking me now. And talk to me after the draft when you've done it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, I'm all aboard keeping him. I thought it was a touching moment when a practice squad player gets an opportunity. I think in this scheme with Hank Fraley, give credit to him for his coaching abilities. I think you should sign and keep Dan Skipper. Why not?
Dan Skipper, every time I turn around, he's a backup, but every time I turn around, he's in the ball game. I mean, and for that amount of money, I mean, and tell me if I'm wrong, guys, he plays guard and tackle.
Yep.
Oh, he played all over the place.
Played all over. I mean, every all I'm saying, he's a reserve player. Every time I seem to be watching, maybe it's just he's in the football game, and it's less than $1 million. I don't know. This is a guy that I think that you can't not sign, especially because of his size. For me, this is a no-brainer. This is me thinking 100% sign him, 0% don't sign him. That's my feeling.
Okay.
And I think he's a depth guy. I heard a little rumor that he used the N-word in San Francisco when he was on that practice squad, but that kind of got thrown out real quick. Here's one here, guys. And I really liked his potential. He was often injured all the time. Austin Bryant, guys, talk about. And he made a stupid freaking thing that I think did we lose that game when he had that PI? I think we did. Austin Bryant, talk about it. Do you want to sign him? 800,000.
No, I wouldn't. No, I'll pass this time.
Yeah, I think his time is up. Solid player. I think he's got potential, but I think a different team might get more out of him than the Lions did.
Yeah, Austin, he's not going to be here. I know the PI that you're talking about. I remember that. Not enough there. Again, you want to bring somebody in at that position possibly from the draft and work with them. I say no.
Even Dan Campbell, Coach Campbell said, he was worried about when they had joint practices with the Colts, and he went on live TV with 97 or live radio with 97 won the ticket, and he was worried about him getting in fights and stuff like that. And he even said, okay, you guys get in fights, you're off the team. But he already suspected Austin Bryant would do that because I think he has a short temper, and I think he's very selfish.
Okay.
So we're gonna talk
wait a
about.
minute. I got to interject something right here. I got to do this right now. I was part of the melee, and I don't know if John remembers this or Scott does. I was part of the melee in La Crosse, Wisconsin, when we scrimmaged the Saints. The fight after fight after fight after fight after fight. Let me keep going. After fight after fight. Fonts pulls us off after 6 fights and says, "Listen, you got to stop this, guys. This 2 minutes later, we go back on the field, scrimmaging the Saints. Another fight breaks out. I was part of that. I mean, that's when training camp was just out of control. So you go, if you can look that up somewhere, I don't know if you could. I talked to Jeff Walker about it and Jimmy Dombrowski from the Saints, who are friends of mine. Jeff Walker from Georgia, who played a guard for the Saints, and Jimmy Dombrowski, who played at Virginia, who was a first-round pick of the Saints. Those are friends of mine, as well as Mark Pattison, the guy who's climbing Mount Everest. And we still talk about that to this day. So, that's how much the game has changed. when you say you can't fight anymore. And
Oh,
you know,
real fast, Mark. If you have a relationship with Mark Patterson, he's
Yeah.
the one I interviewed with to have the opportunity. He's the one in charge, and he's an amazing leader. Listen, I can't speak enough of great things about former wide receiver Mark Patterson. He's got a great mindset. Yeah, he's in charge of our operation.
Oh, okay. Well, tell Mark I said hello. Tell him you did a show with me.
Yep,
Let-
Mark's
oh,
great.
yeah.
I'll tell him for sure.
No, you have to come on this show. You have to come on this show.
Wait a minute, guys. Mark is older than me. Mark is 62 years old. Okay,
Yes,
he played 4
yes.
seasons for the same. He's climbing. He's doing this stuff. I mean, what he is doing physically demanding is more physically demanding than playing in the NFL. He's doing it at 62, and you know this, John, because you follow him. Obviously, he is just he is a great guy. I text him. He texted me back in 10 minutes. I mean, he's got all this publicity. He went pretty far as the award show, didn't he, John? He won the Emmy for best short film.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Best short film documentary, I think it was.
Yep.
And I mean, congratulations to him for doing this at 62 years old. That's great. Please tell him I said hello.
Well, let me ask you a question. You ever work with Don Shula? You know how physical his practices are?
No, I didn't play. He's a little before my time. Before my time.
Maybe before your time, but one before mine when I was covering the team. They weren't playing patty cake, Baker's man football with this guy. I mean, you know what they used to call his training camp? Camp Shula. And if you want to go ahead and figure that one out, it's almost like the what's that movie with Bear Bryant, the What Boys? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, nobody got.
I know the movie you're talking about.
Yeah, well, and I don't watch a lot of movies, but Camp Shula would make Camp Fonts look like a cotton picking country club, man. I know. I lived it. I covered. If you've ever covered the Dolphins and it's your first job working on an NFL team, this guy would intimidate the daylights out of you. He did until I got to know him and he started to like me. Boy, it took a lot of work for him to get to know.
That's good to know because Camp Fonts was not easy, guys. It wasn't easy.
Camp Shula was 100 times worse than Camp Fonts, man. I know.
Well, you just said a mouthful. All right, but anyway, John, please give Mark Patterson my regards.
Will do.
I'm the Motor City man mouth. I always say a mouthful. All right, sorry, Marco.
We got like 9 more to go.
John Kaminsky. I got to run in like 5 minutes.
Okay,
I'll run in 5 minutes. Can we get to Kaminsky, please?
Yes.
John Kaminsky, Amani Oruwariye, Benito Jones, Tommy Kramer, Brock Wright, Scott Daly, Anthony Pittman, Tristan Benson, and Trinity Benson and Bobby Price. Those are the last ones. Yay or nay? Just pick one and talk about it. John Kaminsky. Talk about
Kaminsky. I think Kaminsky is he's one of these guys, and you want a player again. When you're doing this, are you on the uprise or are you on the downrise? Now, I think Alex Anzalone is on the downrise. Okay. I think Kaminsky is on the uprise. So I think that's a guy that you can't let him go right now. He's just getting to it. You know, I mean, he's a great compliment in that position, and I'm adamant. You got to re-sign him. He's on the upswing. I want him for sure.
Absolutely, he's going to be back. John Kaminsky will be back.
Yeah, I'll follow the lead of Mark and John as well.
Amani Oruwariye. No,
I think his time is done.
Tommy Kramer
for sure.
Tommy Kramer, guard. He's at the league minimum. Brock Wright.
Yeah, absolutely. The tight ends, I think, with the Lions, I think there's a lot of great development, a lot of potential. I think Brock Wright has the potential to be really special in this offense.
I think. Go ahead, Scott. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Scott.
I like him. I can't believe that they survived the T.J. Hawkinson trade and did well at the tight end position. That to me amazes me what they accomplished there.
Brock Wright.
I think Brock Wright. I'm sorry. Brock Wright is a guy that's potentially, like you guys had said, can be really, really good. We didn't lose a whole lot losing Hawkinson unbelievably. And I think he's another guy that's on the rise, like a Kaminsky. I think I don't think they're going to let go of Wright. I don't think that will happen. I would be heavily surprised.
So we got Scott Daly, the long snapper. Obviously, he's going to make the team. We don't really like to get rid of the long snappers, do we? Do you want to keep them? Anthony Pittman, Trinity Benson. I think that was Brad Holmes' worst move he's ever made, and Bobby Price. You guys want those guys? We'll go
Bobby
on to the
Price,
next segment.
Well, I'd be interested what John has to say about Bobby Price.
Yeah, I think that he's, obviously a solid special teamers. The Lions do have a solid group of players that perform on special teams. I think he'll be back. I do think that when you look at the Lions and their coverages and their punt returns and things like that, you really got to also look at and give props to Khalif Raymond, who emerged and really embraced that role. A lot of times players, when they're asked to do work on special teams, they sometimes don't exactly find that to be exactly flattering. But a lot of the Lions, when you look at Bobby Price and Khalif Raymond and Anthony Pittman, they embrace the role. They have taken it upon themselves to be a special unit. I like Pittman. I like Bobby Price. I do think that Trinity Benson, the experiment's got to end. It's a telling sign. It's a funny story too, because in the season, Jared Goff had said, I'm inviting all these guys. And of course, naturally in conversation, we asked, did you invite Trinity Benson for workouts? And he said, no. Well, as the season progressed, Trinity Benson comes back to the Lions. And so we kind of joke around and say, hey, Jared, are you going to invite him? And it just kind of became a thing where Trinity Benson kind of made it known that he's not in the loop of being a guy invited for off-season workouts. That's pretty telling. I just think that at this point in time, he's a practice squad player until he shows more. He's not in the loop.
Gotcha.
I get you. Let's talk about guys that we went through the free agents, but we have to talk about. Do you want to keep Vaitai? He signed until 2025. He's getting paid tackle money, guys. Are we keeping him? Because he was an alternate for the Pro Bowl 2 years ago. Talk about it there, John.
Here's the problem. He's really close with Penei Sewell. So that would potentially upset the apple cart a little bit. You do get some value in the salary cap. If you make that decision, I think you could potentially make that move and look for younger and cheaper in the draft. But here's the thing. The injury that he's kind of suffered is also going to be telling when he comes back. When you have a season-long back injury in a situation where you're not there, it's going to be tough, earning your spot back. But it's going to be very interesting to see because this Lions running attack is predicated upon having a solid offensive line. So I do think that they're going to make that tough decision, but I would not be surprised if he comes back.
Nice. You guys have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think the key is when the salary cap increases a little bit, it obviously affects your player movement a little bit as well. So if you're under the old system where you had a few dollars less, it becomes a tougher decision. So it's just one of those things where you prioritize it with the extra money that you ended up getting versus what you didn't have.
I
don't know. I don't know enough about. I don't know enough about it. This is the one player that'll lose me a little bit. And I'm not going to try to say something I don't know. So
in 2021, he didn't give up a sack at all.
Right. No, I remember that. But I remember from last year. I mean, I know who he is, obviously, but I don't want to, for me to say gone, and this is the man's life, right. and when I talk on these shows, I like to really know what I'm kind of talking about. And this one, I don't have enough knowledge on, and this is the man's life. And I'm going to say, let him go when I don't know enough about it. And that's the way we are on the show. So,
Michael Brockers, we release him or keep him?
That's around? A foregone conclusion. That money is going to be saved.
Brockers is gone.
Brockers is gone.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He's been a disappointment. Here's a guy that badmouthed Jared Goff when he got here, and we see how that's working out. Jared Goff leads him to the playoffs, and Michael Brockers, to me, his tenure is history.
Gone.
So, do we sign Jared Goff now to save money for the future, or do we draft a quarterback? Do we draft a quarterback here at 5, CJ Stroud?
I'm going to jump in real quickly, and then John and Scott can go. I think the jury is still out. You know what? It's still kind of out. Yeah, great finish. All 9 games, no interceptions. It's great. It's great. But the jury is still no. My answer to that: do you sign? And it's a good question, Darcy. It's a good question. Jury's still out. That's going to be an unpopular answer for some of our viewers. I'd be interested to see what John has to say about this and Scott, but I want to see a little bit more, just a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I think that when you look at Jared Goff's contract, by all accounts, it's considered a steal across the league. He's only going to be averaging $26.5 million each season for the next 2 years, when you're talking about Aaron Rodgers potentially securing 50 million, and Jared Goff is younger. So when everyone says, looking at the contract, you still have him under contract for 23 and 24. So you technically don't have to make a move. Now, here's the thing though. Obviously, if Goff does perform well, which he's expected and set up to do, his agent is going to be commanding a lot more, in the neighborhood of 35 to 40 million plus per season. So this is a big year for Jared Goff and a lot of other Lions. So I think you're going to get the best out of Jared Goff. But there's some things that the Lions could do in terms of increasing guarantees, maybe guaranteeing more of his salary if he does get hurt. So there are ways to reward him and make the cap a little bit friendlier. But overall, I think his cap number is very well. There was talk about potentially you could save some money on the cap by just simply releasing him post June 1. But by and large, he's played so well that he's your guy. He's QB1 and he's earned it. But you don't have to do nothing. You don't have to tinker with it. I think you write out what he does this year, and let's see how he does potentially in the playoffs in 23, and then you make the decision. Obviously, if he wins a playoff game, he's going to cash in for more than 40 million every season.
Yeah, that's
so. John,
well said.
Here, I'll get this real quick. Do you draft a quarterback high in the first round with one of the Rams pick or our pick?
No, not high. I think you obviously have to draft a developmental quarterback. This is where an organization needs to really rely on their scouts and the information that you see and a little bit of luck. Now, Brad Holmes does like to pick up the phone and make trades. Could he make that move for an Anthony Richardson, maybe coming back into the first round late or back, maneuvering into the second round? Obviously, he's made several trips to scout Anthony Richardson out of Florida. You heard that the Lions front office met with Hendon Hooker. I do think you're going to draft somebody, but I think if you can find a value pick in the 3rd to 5th round and develop them, then you can really get the help you need on defense. It's not needed this year. You don't need to draft a quarterback high because you have your starter. The Lions are building around Jared Goff. They have the coordinator who spent an offseason tailoring an offense to Jared Goff. You have an offensive line. You have a running game. You picked up an elite wide receiver. Guys, I know the jury is still out, which it very much is, but Brad Holmes loves him some Jared Goff. So they're going to do everything possible to make sure he's successful. And that also means, allocating resources. I don't think you're going to bring in a guy at number 6 as a quarterback, because then guys like me are going to be like, the first interception he tosses in 23, let's bring in this young rookie. Let's bring in this young guy. I want to see something new, so they're not going to do that to Jared. They have a lot of respect for him. So I'm certain that they're going to draft a quarterback, but I don't think if they do, it'll be in rounds 1, 2, or 3.
I love this guy. I need him on my shows every time.
Hey, John,
talk about
John's got to be a regular here, man.
He's awesome. He's awesome.
He is knowledgeable as hell, and I'm not slighting Scott here one bit. But man,
I'm
John,
better looking, but he's
John,
smarter.
you're a wealth of knowledge here, man. Seriously.
No, thank you guys. I appreciate it. I love talking football. Anytime, as much as I can on Wednesdays is not bad. I can't do a full show like always, but I can definitely come on and give insights anytime you guys want. I love hearing your guys' stories as well. So I learn from you guys. It's good
stuff. Listen, I'm in Florida. I don't know what you expect out of me. I get the Lions media releases.
Right.
I watch them over on DirecTV over at the sports bars. So I'm not a privy to it, although I do get updates from the Lions all the time. But you know what, John? For a guy like me who's very long-winded, because of your deep, incredible analysis, you took the words out of my mouth, and there were a lot of good ones.
Yes.
Yeah, there were. Very good, guys. Good. I enjoyed it.
Okay, hang on. I'm going to ask you the last one here. Super Bowl, Mark, before you got to go, I know you have to go. Jeff is tied up with basketball with his daughter, which is being a good dad. I just want to say real quick, I have sponsorship at Jacoby's on Brush Street. We're going to broadcast at 10 o'clock before the game. I just got season tickets. Guys, come on. We're going to have cheap drinks, everything like that, and come on the show. I hope John can come show up at Jacoby's. It's a German bar. I'm half German. So, and Mark's going to come down, and I'll Paul drive him and beat him at the 40. I'll beat him at the whole thing. But Mark, talk about it. I think we're going to end the show here. We'll bring Jeff in on another day and talk about the Senior Bowl. Talk about who do you think's going to win, the Philadelphia Eagles or the
Well,
Kansas
I'm a
City
I'm a I'm a
Chiefs?
I'm a Temple University guy, so I mean, you want to lean toward the Eagles, but these are two teams that are really similar. They both have you get the best tight end in football with Kelsey, and on the other side, Dallas Goedert is a guy who's on the upswing. The receivers kind of even themselves out a lot. I was at the Eagles game against the Lions, the opener with you, Darcy. There's a lot of good things about both teams, obviously, or they wouldn't be here right now. What separates one from the other? Very difficult. They're both well coached, well disciplined team. They don't commit a lot of penalties. Good offensive lines on both sides. I think this comes down to the quarterbacks, and I think that it's Hurts makes a good stand for it. Kansas City's got a little bit more experience in this type of game, even though Philadelphia was there in 17. If I'm going to give a nudge, I'm going to give it to Kansas City, and I would pick them to win this game 31-27.
Kansas City 31-27 or the
Yes.
Eagles 30?
Yes, 20-30. Kansas City 31-27.
I'm going to go next, and then we're going to go with Scott, and then we're going to finish off with John, and then we are going to say goodnight to all of you, to the 13 viewers that are left watching. It looks like a successful show.
Well, we started off with hundreds.
I know. That's the way it goes. People have ADD in this kind of day and age. So I'm going to go with the best running team and the most sacked team. I have to go with an NFC team because we only lost to them by 3 points.
I know.
And if we never had that pick six, we would be in the Super Bowl. Oh, I'm doing a Joe Biden. Sorry. I got the Eagles winning 28 and the Kansas City Chiefs 27. Scott?
All right. Well, you know what? You ever heard of Jalen Hurts? Guess what? He was drafted in the second round. So all you people that think you need a quarterback in the first round, no. Okay. You want a prediction? Philadelphia 33-27 over Kansas City, a 6-point differential. That's what I think. But getting back to when I say you don't have to draft a quarterback in the first round, and just because they're Heisman Trophy winners doesn't necessarily mean they pan out either. So anybody drinking the Heisman Trophy Kool-Aid, I'd rather have a strawberry margarita after my couple shows later on. I don't care about second round draft choice winning at all. 33-27 Philly.
Man, in learning about these two teams, you got to credit Howie Roseman, the GM of the Eagles. The man can build football teams, and you look at kind of a situation in which a team that won the Super Bowl now rebuilt again. So this gives hopefully the respect level to a great GM now emerging in the National Football League. Hopefully Brad Holmes can establish himself in the same way, because, guys, when the Lions start getting well, they're going to have to start paying some money to Amon-Ra St. Brown and Penei Sewell and James
Sewell.
Yep. Yeah, you're going to have to start shelling out some cash. So
we got a 3-year window, John.
I have respect for Howie Roseman and how he's built that team. I love what they've done in the trenches. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs defense is very underrated. I think they have a player in Jones there that can disrupt a game. And I personally always look to in the trenches. I think the Eagles have built very well on the offensive line and defensive line. And you look at Jalen Hurts and what he can do. That football team is talented. But to Mark's point, when you have Patrick Mahomes, there's that it factor that just makes you really struggle to not pick him, because he can really elevate his game similar to some of the game's greats. So it's really tough, but I'm going to stick to my guns. I think it's Eagles 27 and the Chiefs 26. It's going to be a nice close contest. Hopefully it's a great game, but I see the better constructed team being the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay, so make sure you subscribe to the Detroit Lions News Show on YouTube. My group that's 12 years old, Detroit Lions News. It's just a little group of 1.5. So you guys promote yourself, and we'll end it with a video.
All right. Well, I would appreciate anybody, if they can, please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. We have a lot of good stuff around the country, and we do a lot of Michigan stuff because I'm from there. So please subscribe. I appreciate you having me on tonight. And of course, my Twitter information, if you're on Twitter, at Tribune South. So that would be appreciated. We have a website, www.southfloridatribune.com. And we have a lot of Detroit stuff on there under the Motor City Tribune. So I appreciate you having me on. It's been a lot of fun.
I forgot to say thank you for everybody that's coming on and that's on this panel here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me. Detroit Sports Podcast is where I broadcast 4 times a week. Lions coverage is available at All Lions. All you got to do is if you hit the Google machine, you type in Detroit Lions SI and it'll pop up. You can visit si.com/NFL/Lions. And we're talking Lions all day, every day. I have a team of writers that covers the Lions. We're there at Allen Park, talking to the Lions, getting all the insights and analysis, doing videos, appearances. And I love talking football, love talking to former players, current players, and others across the league. So I'm there. I'm one of the daily reporters that are out there. And it's a great time now for me, obviously starting off with the team that was losing with a really awful culture and a head coach that wouldn't let the players talk, to now something completely different where the players are more engaging. They want to appear on podcasts and shows and they want to talk. I mean, Jamal Williams today did 4 interviews at the Super Bowl. So the players are out there and they want to promote themselves. It's a new energy. So we're here at All Lions now covering an up and coming NFL football team.
Hey, John.
Just before you get going, I had 5 NFL players in 9 shows. So I had Stephon Logan. I had this guy who I'm going to beat in the 40. I had Glover Quinn. I had I've had Anthony Cannon and Jeff Chadwick. Jeff Chadwick. Okay, finish off, Mark, and we'll start with a video. Thank you guys. Love you guys. One pride. Go finish off with a former player that I'm going to beat.
John and Mark,
I'm taking the challenge. It's a pleasure to be with you guys, with John and Scott and Darcy. You guys are wonderful to talk with. You guys know your business. You know what you're talking about. It's great to be on these podcasts. It's good to get the word out there. As far as the NFL Players Association, it's an important organization. The only thing I ask here is that the fans are aware of who came before all these present players now, and you know that there are some certain things that have gone on that have not always been that great, and we're just trying to clean some of those things up. And just remember some of the former players and what they've done to pave the ground for the way that the game is played today and for the way that the popularity of the game is today. And it's important just that the fans realize, the things that have come before, and in moving forward to play it as the game as safe as possible on natural grass, and to just be aware of a little bit of the guys who came before. That's real important to me, and that's my hobby now is heavily involved with the NFL Players Association. So that's all I would ask for, and I love being on programs like this with you guys. It's a real pleasure and an honor to be with you. Thank you.
One pride, man.
Fast, let's go. Lions on 3. 1, 2, 3. Lions.
Oh my God, Victory Sunday.
The Giants look at their schedule and they go, oh, the Detroit Lions, and they put the big W, right?
Right. It's folks, it's everybody that is on the screen right now that is what makes this special, because this organization has been so bad for so long, yet here we all are on a Sunday night at 7 o'clock chopping it up about this football team, because winning 3 in a row and getting this done for the first time since 2017, and like Mark said, having some momentum for this fan base.
When we played against the Patriots one game on Thanksgiving, I had a pretty good game too, and it was just the atmosphere is just different. It's just there's just everybody's ready. You get a chance to wear the throwback uniforms. It was just fun.
I think it's a mixture of both. I think you got to have a good program, but I think the city, the way it's viewed nationally, like the people in Detroit, the business people, the money makers, the marketers, they got to market Detroit different nationally.
Good stuff.
And then